Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripata maham vande Shri Guru Dinatana. We offer our obeisances to our beloved spiritual master, by whose grace we are able to recite the Vedic scriptures, by which even a blind person can see the stars in the sky, or a person who is deaf, mute, can recite the most beautiful poetry in praise of Lord Sri Krishna. This is all by the grace of the spiritual master. All these things are possible. Prabhupada used to say, impossible, that's a word in a fool's dictionary. So we are not fools, right? We are not fools. We have experience, and by our experience we have conviction. And our conviction means we have faith. Faith in the message of the Bhagavad Gita, faith in the words of Sri Krishna, faith in the promises of the spiritual master to deliver us from the repeated birth and death. So it was looking at chapter 9. These are wonderful verses. So this is the Sanskrit. It's chapter 9, text number 27. Yat karosi yadasnasi yajjuhosi dadasya yat tapasasi konteya tat karushvam arpanam. Sound familiar? Well, it will be after we discuss it. So this is the word for word. Let's do it one word at a time. Please repeat. Yat. What?
What?
Karosi.
Karosi.
You do.
You do.
Everybody. Yat.
Yat.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Ashnasi.
Ashnasi.
You eat.
You eat.
Yat.
Yat.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Juhosi.
Juhosi.
You offer.
You offer.
Dadasi.
Dadasi.
You give away.
You give away.
Yat.
Yat.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Yat.
Yat. Whatever.
Whatever. Tapasyasi.
Tapasyasi.
Austerities you perform.
Austerities you perform.
Kaunteya.
Kaunteya.
O son of Kunti.
O son of Kunti.
Tat.
Tat.
That.
That.
Kurushva.
Kurushva.
Make.
Make.
Mat.
Mat.
Unto me.
Unto me.
Arpanam.
Arpanam.
Offering.
Offering.
This is a translation of the verse. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Thus it is the duty of everyone to mold his life, I would say his or her life, in this audience, in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. He should mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna under any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together. And Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live. Therefore he should accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious, ritualistic ceremonies. Therefore Krishna recommends, do it for me. And this is called archana. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. All surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which is not practical in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, on his beads, he is surely the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In that verse, Yoginam api sarvesham mad gantanantaratmana shradhavan bhajate yomam samayukta tamomataha. Yoginam api sarvesham. Of all the forms of yoga, it is the form of yoga known as bhakti yoga that is supreme, because it links you with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I remember when, it was so many years back, but devotees had printed invitations, and on the invitation it said yoga class. And Prabhupada said, what kind of yoga? You must indicate that this is bhakti yoga. Otherwise everyone will come here prepared to do yoga exercises. And that's not what we're teaching. So, bhakti yoga. And it did happen. I remember seeing some ladies, they came in their leotard ready to do exercises, but we were doing kirtan instead. So this is a very important verse, and it follows another important verse which every devotee knows, maybe not the Sanskrit, but the concept. If one offers me with love and devotion 4 things, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, then I will accept it. You know that? You're familiar with that, right? It's one of the first things you hear, why we should offer, what we should offer to Krishna. A leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water. And Krishna says, I will accept it. Why? Because you have offered it to me with love and devotion. Now there are stories of devotees who, in their ecstasy, there was one devotee, he was peeling a banana and throwing away the banana and offering the peel to Krishna. So he got that backwards, but it was an ecstatic symptom. So he was forgiven for that. But in general, we want to make a wonderful offering of the most tasteful, sumptuous preparations that we can prepare for Krishna. And everything should be arranged in a colorful way as well, because Krishna is seeing the offering and accepting it, because on the spiritual platform the functions of the senses are interchangeable. That's how you know the spiritual body is functioning, because with his eyes Krishna is usually if you are going to accept something, you accept it with your hands. But take a look at Lord Jagannath. He does not have hands, but he has very big eyes. So he can accept the offerings by seeing what you have brought to him, and that you are offering to him with love and devotion, because that is what he's really looking for. He's looking for the loving exchange with his devotee. And not only Krishna, but the spiritual master is also very eager to have that kind of exchange with his devotees, based on their appreciation, their dedication, their devotion, and their unswerving faith in his instructions and his teachings. And the spiritual master is very happy to see their advancement in Krishna consciousness. So how does one advance in Krishna consciousness? That is described in this verse. It is yat karosi yadasnasi yajjuhosi dadasi yat yat tapasasi kumtaya tat kurushvamalarpanam. That whatever you are going to perform in terms of offering something, or giving in charity, or performing austerity, or whatever you're going to ingest, everything should be done with Krishna in mind. Prabhupada writes, Krishna says, do it for me. Do it for me. He wrote that several times, actually. In the spiritual circles, if you repeat something 3 times, it's for emphasis, to show how important that is. So, do it for me, do it for me, do it for me. Just like in Lord Chaitanya's prayer. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, eva kevalam, 3 times. The holy name, the holy name, the holy name. Kalo nastyeva, 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 3 times. There is no other way, no other way, no other way. Get the picture? It's you emphasize something because of its importance. And so here, what was the word that Krishna kept repeating? Whatever, 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 right? Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever austerity you perform, whatever, do it as an offering to me. So that's what we do, and we do that at every step in our life. For example, we have a lady, she has absented herself, and I guess she is taking care of her son. He's 8 years old, Raphael, and so she is taking care of him, and that is her service to Krishna. And that is an offering to Krishna.
She should hear it.
And she can hear, so by her hearing, she is offering her power of hearing to Krishna. This is so important. Hearing is the beginning of faith. You hear Krishna's words, or you hear words spoken about Krishna, descriptions of Krishna, or Krishna's pastimes, or Krishna's instructions, or the spiritual master's instructions, or you're reading the Krishna book, which is actually Krishna's book. It's called the Krishna book, but it's Krishna's book. And so this is an offering. You're offering your intelligence, purifying your intelligence. And by purifying your intelligence, Krishna will be directing you at every step in your life. You won't be confused anymore about what is to be done and what is not to be done. You will immediately know, because Krishna will direct you. And the spiritual master, he appears externally. He is what we call the external manifestation of the supersoul. Have you heard that before? That expression? Mm-hmm. That the supersoul is within the heart, Lord Vishnu. But he comes out, he appears before you as the spiritual master, and he guides you further on the path. And so this is why the devotee understands that I can never repay the debt that I have to my spiritual master. You know, you have an apartment and you have so many bills to pay. You have to pay the rent, you have to pay the electricity, you have to pay the gas, you have to pay so many things. And similarly, the sun is shining, you have the glow of the moon, which is very soothing in the evening hours, and you have food that's being supplied, and all of the necessities of life are being provided by Krishna. So how do you pay that bill? How do you repay the spiritual master who has given you an opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead in one lifetime? How do you repay that? There's only one way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because in that prayer, in that mantra, you're actually asking Krishna, what are we asking him? And his devotional energy, the internal potency. Please engage us in your service. So how do we know what service to engage in? The spiritual master, he tells us this is the mission. It is the mission of the acharyas. It is also my mission, and now it is your mission. I give it to you to fulfill the mission. The Krishna consciousness movement will be spread to every town and village in the world. So that's what we have to do. It's not an easy mission. It's something that requires total immersion, total absorption, total focus. You got to zoom in on it. You can't just do it like you go bowling on Friday nights. You know what I mean? It's not just a sport. It's a dedication. It's a lifetime mission. And so I was telling the devotees last night in our Ishtagosti meeting after Harinam that when Prabhupada sent me a letter to inform me of my spiritual name, he also said, as far as the purpose of your life is concerned, so the spiritual mastery tells you right from the start, from the get-go, from day one, what the purpose of life is and what your mission of life is. And it's the same as his mission. That's the whole idea. That we come into this movement, it's like a new birth. It is a second birth, actually. And the spiritual master informs us, he said to me in this letter, you already know what my mission is. You already know. How is it possible that I already knew? Because the spiritual master, he imparts this into your heart, knowing, he's all-knowing. Krishna gives the spiritual master all the information that he needs to bestow his blessings upon anyone who's coming forward to serve within this movement. So, Prabhupada said, you already know. You already know. Because he communicated that to me. And he said, my mission is to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world, and you already know. Now everybody here knows that too. So his mission is also our mission. We have to become like a, what you call like a spoke in the wheel. You know what I'm talking about? A spoke in the wheel, or a gear in the machinery. So we have a very important part to play. And we should never separate ourselves from that mission. It's like you have to have air, you have to be breathing air to live. You can't just stop breathing and go on living. You know what I'm saying? So similarly, the order of the spiritual master, the mission of the spiritual master, we cannot separate our life from those things. And we have to be steadfast, unswerving, like that. We have to be unswerving in our devotion, in our dedication. So that'll manifest in whatever service we are given. You know, we have a preaching center here, and there's so much service to be done, and we're doing Harinam. You came out on Harinam last time.
Yeah, very good.
How did you like that?
It was actually one of the happiest moments in my whole life.
You didn't want it to end, right?
No.
It doesn't have to.
Yeah, I know.
That's why you have to have your beads.
Exactly, and like you said, because I was initiated into different mantra, but you said, so this is like good.
That was a stepping stone, Anthony. That was just to bring you here.
I actually did, chant, like I put on the Arjuna, which is what I listen to, and it's 45 minutes, and I listened to it 7 straight times, chanting the Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
You know what Prabhupada said?
For about 7 hours. Then,
Prabhupada was asked, how long does it take for one to surrender to Krishna? What do you think he said? He said 1 second. Because at every moment, because you have free will, because you're part and parcel of Krishna, you have free will. Krishna he's completely free to do anything and everything, right? Lord Chaitanya's prayer, he has free will. So we have that free will also, which means we are always choosing between meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna and meditating on what Maya has to offer, the material energy. See? So we're always choosing between those two. It's like Prabhupada said, you're either going to dance with Krishna or you're going to dance with Maya. So you take your pick. We choose Krishna. And that's why in our centers we have the deity worship, we have beautiful paintings. This is painted by devotee whose name was Jadharani, one of Prabhupada's first female disciples. And at first she couldn't really paint much of anything, but Krishna gave her that ability. And Krishna will give you abilities that you're not even aware of, that you never thought you even had. I bet you never thought you could play the kartals.
It took me a while too, to tell you the truth.
We have a Harinam party. I was just looking at the pictures that you sent me from our Harinam party yesterday. And I was thinking, here's myself and the four of us, the four guys. Padmalochan, Dr. Mark Flatley, Arjuna, myself, four of us. And all four guys can play mridanga and can lead the kirtan. Okay, now I was looking at the ladies. Well, here's Mangala Gita, she can lead kirtan. And here's Mother Vrinda, she can lead kirtan. This is amazing. That so many devotees have this talent, this ability. We understand Krishna is the ability in man and in woman. Shabdake Purusham Nirashu, the sound vibration in the ether and the ability in man represent Krishna. So we all have some ability, and whatever ability we are lacking, Krishna will provide. He will induce us to have that ability. And everyone here has some great ability. I was listening to the pronunciation. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. And I was thinking, wow, I never heard devotees enunciate the Sanskrit names so beautifully, so musically, so poetically. It's just perfect. And that's a talent. That's something that Prabhupada would be very pleased to hear. Because I remember when he was doing he did a deity installation at New Mayapur, Krishna Balaram. I think I mentioned that to you, that it was my great honor that when Prabhupada was bathing the deities, that I was handing him the conch shells with the substances that he was pouring on the deities. Then he would hand it back to me, and I would hand it down to somebody who was filling them up, and then hand it back to Prabhupada. So I was like the middleman. And then afterwards we had a fire ceremony, and we had Brahmins doing all the different services and reciting the scriptures at the four corners of the sacrificial arena, and fanning, and the chamara and the peacock fan. And Prabhupada's comment was, this is all properly done. It is properly done. Like on that tape, the japa tape, sit properly. Prabhupada says he wanted things to be done properly. In other words, up to the standard. I remember when Prabhupada received the first Bhagavad Gita complete edition. I was there. I was here in Brooklyn, actually, 1972, Macmillan edition. And Prabhupada, on one hand, was very happy we got it printed. But on the other hand, he said it was not up to our Vaishnava standard, because the color pictures were faded. They looked faded. The binding was poor. The cover was flimsy. It would fall apart if you'd open it. It was very hard for us to take those books out and sell them, because they were being damaged in the book bag, so they were so fragile. So we want things to be up to par, up to the Vaishnava standard. And I was thinking that, this is all properly done, and the singing of the bhajans and the singing of the mantras and the worship, like when you perform the Guru Puja and the Arti, that it is properly done. And this is very pleasing. Pleasing to see, pleasing to Prabhupada. I mean, we know when the spiritual master is satisfied, and that's how you know that Krishna is satisfied. So we should go on in this way. And what happens is that at the end of life, what you have done throughout your life is tested. So everything is tested at the time of death. For one who has been born, what is certain? Death is certain. Sometimes they say death and taxes, but I don't know about taxes. It's not mentioned in the Gita. But it does say, for one who has been born, death is certain. For one who has died, what is certain? Birth. Taking another birth. Unless, what? Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajachante kalevaram. That whatever state of mind you are in at the time when you leave this body, to that state you will attain. Right? So, we're devotees. We should be thinking of Krishna 24/7, as it's mentioned here. And how do we get to that stage? By doing everything for Krishna. Do it for me, he says. So doing everything for Krishna, and that means that at the time of death we will remember Krishna. And Krishna, if we have some difficulty, like difficulty breathing, or we get all choked up, or the bodily functions are all dislocated, then Krishna will, by forcibly push his way into your mind, pushing everything else aside. Here I am, and I'm taking you with me, and I'm taking you home, back to Godhead. So that is what will happen. In the Sri Upanishad, there is a verse where the devotee is praying, "My dear Lord Krishna, at the time of leaving this body, it's possible that I may not be able to remember your lotus feet. So I'm asking you now to please remember all the service and sacrifices that I have performed in your service." So in this way, the devotee is putting his futures, his destiny in Krishna's hands. Isn't that beautiful? So there is when Prabhupada returned to India for the last time, and this took place in August of 1977, passed November 14th, 1977. And before that, in the beginning of August, Prabhupada was planning, even though he was so incapacitated by the illness, a world tour of ISKCON temples. Because his thinking was, everything is perfect. Everything is perfect right now. He was talking about the movement, the temples, the devotees. He said everybody's really fixed on meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna, personality of Godhead. But I want to travel and see them all so they become a little bit stronger, just a little bit stronger. And Prabhupada was willing to. I mean, he couldn't even walk practically. He was carried. And he was wearing dark glasses because the light was bothering his eyes so much. And then they made a plan for him to do a world tour of ISKCON temples. And he got as far as his first destination, which was the Bhaktivedanta Manor. And he started having health problems. But the devotees, his idea was, devotees will come from all over to see me, all over Europe, to see me at the Bhaktivedanta Manor. And they did. A lot of devotees did. And then he said he would go to New York, and he said, if I leave my body when I'm in New York, they can prepare my samadhi on the top of that building, 55th Street Temple. That's how important that temple was. Prabhupada was thinking this is the crowning achievement of all of his preaching work, was that temple in New York City. His vision for preaching in New York, it is essential that we know what it was, so that we can fulfill his dream now.